co-host of Canucks Conversation here on the Nation Network. The athletic staff writer covering the Vancouver Canucks. It's Harman Dayal back here on Coots and Price. Harm, good to see you this weekend. How are you?
I'm doing amazing, guys. Hockey season's back in full swing.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm amped up, ready to go.
Yeah, it really does change when you see them on the ice in competitive arenas. So looking forward to this. We talked about that in the opening segment. First of 88 scheduled games. Of course, we're hoping for more here. Harm, saw your story on training camp with the standouts and those who maybe gave a little bit back to the pack. Let's start with the rookie. Is on the tips of everybody's tongue, Braden Coots. What did you see from him in camp and then again last night in that preseason game?
He's exceeded all expectations for an 18-year-old rookie that was drafted in the middle of the first round this year. Within 5 to 10 minutes of day one of camp, just watching the whole group go through rush-based drills, you could immediately tell this is a player who skates and shoots the puck like an NHLer. It was the way that he moves up and down the ice, the pop that he has off the rush with his release, how deceptive it is, how much he's able to lift the puck even from tight areas around the net. You could tell this guy looks comfortable and doesn't look out of place at all among NHLers. And then the next question was going to be, all right, it's one thing to shoot and skate like an NHLer, but in more competitive environments like Saturday scrimmage and Sunday's preseason game against the Kraken, how is he going to hold up physically as more of an undersized centerman and even with the reads, making decisions at a quicker NHL pace as opposed to his WHL experience? And that's where Saturday's scrimmage and during Sunday's preseason game, you can tell that defensively, he's already always in the right spots. He has good awareness of how to take slot passing lanes away. He had a terrific sequence on the back check yesterday. He, even on breakouts, his first touch defensively is very good, and he's able to make those quick plays under pressure that mean the difference between advancing the puck up the ice or a dangerous turnover in the defensive zone that could immediately lead to a chance against. So already very mature and advanced in that area. Now, I think he's still facing an uphill battle to actually make the Canucks out of camp, just because a lot of the other centers ahead of him haven't necessarily done anything to warrant not making the team. But the longer Coots continues to do this and not look out of place, I'd say it's more than anything for me impressive in terms of what it could mean for his long-term future, more so than I think he's going to be a driver in the NHL right away, just because he's still 18 years old. And as much as he held his own in that Seattle game, and I thought, whoa, that was great to see from an 18-year-old, I still think there are going to be moments, especially as the pace ramps up closer to the end of the preseason, and even if he somehow does play in a regular season game or a few of them, that there's still room to improve, understandably, as a play driver.
So we're asking on our Redwoods Golf Course poll question, if you want to see him make the team, we'll modify it for you. You do see a pathway then, Harm, to him making this team and getting that junior hockey 9-game look-see in the early going?
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility. They don't have any right shot centers, and I think the thing that maybe hurts him is the fact that an Ratu has still looked pretty good in camp, and would require waivers to get sent down. So to me, he's a lock to make the 23-man roster. Heedle's healthy. Bluger got the first look in the 3C spot to open camp with Garland and Höglander, so the organization still seems to believe in him. So the centers ahead of him are still in a pretty good position, but if he really forces the issue and continues ramping things up, then he has a bit of a long shot to do the Jet Lachenko thing. And that's the example that I brought up on Canucks Conversation last week. Was Lachenko, same position, same handedness, same sort of profile as more of a two-way centerman that was drafted in the middle of the first round. And he got into 4 games for the Flyers as an 18-year-old before he was ultimately sent down to the CHL.
The other interesting guy to bring up in comparison is the path taken by Shane Wright, who we saw last night as well on the other side of the ledger. Shane Wright twice got the 8-game look from the Seattle Kraken, and including in his, now he was a 4th overall pick, so different pedigree to some degree, but including in his draft year.
4th that some people thought might go first overall for a good part of that season.
And I think he was robbed, not so much that year, but certainly last year. I thought he should have been a Seattle Kraken, and they said no. They sent him back down despite 5 points, 4 goals in those 8 games that they gave him. And it didn't ruin him. Like, he had a great year last year in his first full year. He's still looking like he's going to be a very certified top 6, player in the National Hockey League. So it's not going to ruin Braden Coots to wait another year, maybe even a couple. The question is, do the Canucks get value added by having this kid? And that's really to me the calculus here, Harm, is do they need this kid? Because he doesn't need this necessarily, as Shane Wright sort of showed. But do they need him?
We'll see as the competition ramps up, and especially when I mean Seattle had their veteran-laden NHL lineup anyway, but the closer you get to the start of the regular season, that's when you see the vets around the league really start to ramp up, and it's going to be in that environment, in puck battles, with the pace of things. We're going to see how much of an impact he can make. I think the way I would frame it is this: Coots, I feel, can hold his own in an NHL environment based on what I've seen so far, but it's how much can he move the needle and ultimately what's best for his development. And I still think a full year in junior is going to be what is optimal for his development, especially because that's kind of environment where you're able to play top line, first unit power play. You're able to just be in all situations, stud, put up a ton of points. And it's different than you, let's say, make the NHL. You're maybe in and out of the lineup. You're not seeing a lot of minutes. You maybe don't get to grow your offensive game as much because you're so focused on not making mistakes, and your defensive details have to be on point just to survive in the NHL. And even with this organization, I think we saw, going all the way back to even Jake Virtanen and Jared McCann, and those were 19-year-olds, not even 18-year-olds, that sure, they were fine. They were okay when they first made the NHL, but ultimately it would have been best for their development in hindsight if they had spent another year in junior or just not being rushed to the NHL. So
if this was next year when you can store the junior player in the A, would he be a perfect candidate for that?
Oh, yeah. I think he would for sure deserve an opportunity in the AHL. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Too bad we have to wait the one more year, unfortunately.
Yeah, if you're not familiar in the new CBA, they do have a provision that allows every team to keep a 19-year-old in the American Hockey League. As we know now, if you come from major junior hockey, you got to be 20 to play in the AHL. Harm Archie Baines, Surrey's Archie Baines. You had him listed as one of your camp standouts. Didn't go as well for Archie last night in Seattle against the Kraken. Tell me what you liked from the weekend in Penticton and how yesterday's performance in the preseason game might have affected him.
Yeah, he played really well during Saturday's scrimmage. He had a sick assist on a neutral zone play that led to one of Kiefer Sherwood's goals. And there are a lot of traits that you look at and go, this could play at the NHL level. He's a really smart player. He sees the ice well. He's effective on the forecheck. He wins battles, but then look, none of what happens at camp or on Saturday scrimmage matters if he isn't able to translate that to preseason games. And he needs to be a lot better than he was yesterday if he wants to crack this lineup. I think from what we've seen from Baines, not even during last night's game, but in general, the 16 games or so that he's played at the NHL level, he's played a little bit too safe, right? It's almost like he's so focused on trying to play the right way that he's unable to make the kind of plays offensively that made him a standout at the AHL level. And for me with Baines, if he isn't making enough of an impact offensively, well, then he's reliable defensively. He's not going to hurt you, but he doesn't add value in that capacity either. And so why would a head coach keep you in the lineup when there are other guys who could fill more niche roles, whether it's as more of an energetic big body that can lay hits on the forecheck, or players who can play on the PK, or guys that actually do put up points in a bottom six role. So for Baines, Yeah, liked his play on Saturday, but he's got to be a lot better than he was against Seattle to make this Canucks team.
Would you worry about losing him on waivers, Harm? He does require waivers.
I think there's a chance he could get claimed. Is it the end of the world if he gets claimed? No. He's ultimately got to prove that he's earned it. He's not, let's say, Ratu, where you look at Ratu, and he's had a good camp, but even if he didn't have a good camp and had a quieter preseason, playing the premium position at center ice, how well he played down the stretch, even his overall pedigree as a prospect, you would look at Ratu and say, he could have a nightmare training camp in preseason. You still got to keep him on the 23-man roster, just because you don't want to expose him to waivers and potentially lose him. I don't think Baines is quite in that tier. Ideally, you're able to keep him as organizational depth, and you hope that he can make strides, but it's not the end of the world if you have to expose him to waivers, because let's say a Linus Karlsson or even a Max Hassan is more NHL ready.
On the defensive side of things, I think Victor Mancini might have been reading all the press clippings of all these other named defensemen that might be above him, including young players like Elias Pettersson and others. He's had a nice debut, hasn't he, in the preseason? Assertive and a big guy with that skating ability. I mean, it's tough to turn away from that. Again, the question is going to be, do the Canucks need this player, or can they store this player? Where are you on that for Mancini?
If he keeps playing like that, he has to make this team. You could see he's a little bit older, right, compared to DPD and especially Tom Willander. He's got more pro experience, and that polish shows. Those reps, the way that he goes back for pucks in the defensive zone, contrast how dynamic he is as a puck rusher and on breakouts between him and Willander, right? And Willander also skates beautifully, but you can just tell the age and experience gap there, where Mancini is just able to dictate. When he goes back for a puck in the defensive zone, he can sense where the forechecking pressure is. He does his shoulder checks. He's clean and confident. And then when he picks up steam, I mean, he's a one-man breakout machine in those scenarios. You also saw him the first period stepping up defensively and kind of laying the boom as well. I will say there were still a couple of moments where he's still a high event player, where because he's trying to do so many things, a couple moments where he's out of position defensively or he does, make a mistake. And I think for him to really stick as a top 6 defenseman on this NHL team, he's going to have to make sure that the coaching staff can trust that he's not going to make the big mistake. But the physical tools are all there, and he clearly stood out, and I thought was their best defenseman last night.
It's funny because he didn't seem comfortable on the puck last year in his NHL work, Harm, and yet he seems so comfortable on the puck in his AHL body of work and in this preseason game. I find myself not really knowing what to make of him, like whether there's going to be puck skills, rush skills, puck transportation, offensive numbers in his game at the NHL level, or if he's just going to have to be a safer guy in the NHL.
Is he better off with 70 AHL games this year or 43 NHL games?
I think he's better off spending some time in the NHL.
Yeah.
He's at the age now where he's not 20 years old anymore. He's getting closer to his mid-20s, and I thought he's shown some really promising things in the AHL. Now it's just a matter for me with Mancini of showing that his IQ and ability to make reads is up to NHL standards. That's, I thought, where and why he maybe was up and down performance-wise when we saw him playing NHL games, was especially when he got that opportunity with Quinn Hughes and it didn't go well. Part of it was in defensive situations, he was out of position. He wasn't reading the play quite right. And then even with the puck, he didn't have as many opportunities against regular season AHL competition to single-handedly rush the puck up the ice. And so in those situations on breakouts, it was, I've got to make quick decisions under pressure. And he didn't look as comfortable. I thought it's tough because I thought he was a lot better in those spots and with those reads in the AHL playoffs, but that's the AHL, right? The pace is slower. It's a different game. So we'll ultimately see, but the physical tools alone definitely shined. It's just a matter of can the brain keep up.
We'll stick with defense on Willander. He was listed as one of the guys who didn't help himself in training camp. Harm, you've touched on it a little bit, but expand on Tom Willander and what we've seen of him thus far.
Yeah, it's nothing concerning. He's 20 years old and doesn't have a single pro game under his belt. He's trying to make the transition from college, and you can tell that there are some kinks to iron out. Now, the positive is that last night, I think you saw defensively a few sequences where, especially defending the rush, he does a really good job of funneling puck carriers to the outside and eliminating and killing plays. He had one of those sequences on Manny Beniers. There was another play, I want to say in the first period, where DPD was caught up the ice a little bit. They sprung Shane Wright, and Willander did a terrific job of just sticking to him, playing a tight gap, and not allowing Wright to generate a dangerous chance. But I think his puck play, you can see the difference between him and Mancini. First shift of the game, he went back for the puck, and look, it was a tough spot because there was forechecking pressure right on him. Puck was sort of rolling behind the net, but he was unable to settle it and make the quick little outlet to get the Canucks out of their zone, which it's a tough play, but at the NHL level, all defensemen can make that play more often than not. And I just think his puck skills and control in those kind of awkward spots isn't quite there yet. It's not polished. Even in D zone retrieval drills and camp, you can see sometimes he's having to look down at the puck. This is an observation that a couple of us made, as opposed to head up all the way. And because of that, I don't think he's able to as quickly shoulder check and understand where our forecheckers coming at me. And he isn't immediately aware of where are my outs, where are my options to relieve pressure. So he still looks a little bit uncomfortable on those D-zone retrievals. And that's why, despite the skating ability, I don't think his work on breakouts is quite up to big league standards yet. And that's okay. He just needs some time to work on that in the A, I think.
Lastly, Harm, Lenus Carlson, we know he's a bubble guy. He looked terrific late last year for the Canucks, and then was extraordinary for the AHL Calder Cup trophy run. Listed as one of your camp standouts. What did you like from him?
I'm high on him, and I think he has the early edge, or he should have the early edge for making this team compared to some of the, let's say, Baines, Sasson, Kravtsov kind of tier of fringe depth forwards. First of all, his skating looks a little bit quicker. It already did. I was
going to ask you about that, yeah.
I think he already made progress in that area towards the end of the season, but I think he made more incremental progress in training camp. Within a few minutes, you could tell, getting up and down the ice, that, okay, he doesn't look like a statue the way he did 2 or 3 training camps ago, which is really important because I look at the other parts of his game. I like his size. I like his wall work. He's a smart player. He's got underrated hands, especially in tight areas. He goes to the front of the net. He's a big body. There's just a lot to like there in terms of what he could provide in a bottom 6 role. And he played on the line with Atu Ratu on Saturday scrimmage, and those two had a lot of good chemistry together.
It's not an easy change to make, but it is a game changer in terms of being noticed, isn't it? Especially if you weren't blessed. It goes back to the Horvat, summer as well, where you come back, you weren't a noted skater, not slow, but not noted. And if you gain that extra gear, I mean, it's like you've got balloons and a flag above,
it's revolutionary.
It just changes everything.
Mm-hmm. 100%. I remember the first time seeing him at a Penticton Young Stars, and you could already tell, all right, his size is intriguing. In high traffic areas, he's got good puck skills, but man, I don't know if this guy's going to have the foot speed to ever dream of making the NHL. But he's made so much progress in that area. And look, by NHL standards, is his skating still subpar? Yes, but I think it has gotten to the point where it's sufficient enough to not single-handedly hold him back, especially because, as I alluded to earlier, I like a lot of the other attributes in his game.
Yeah.
Well, we like the attributes in your game, buddy. Keep kicking ass at The Athletic. Love reading your stuff. And, of course, with David Quadrelli on Canucks Conversation. Appreciate the time, Harm.
Thank you, guys.